The internet is a gigantic place. Some parts of the internet are funny, other parts of the internet are more serious, but certain parts of the internet are quite scary. Sometimes you don't even know what you're going to get. A random link can take you to somewhere funny or to somewhere creepy. You can't trust every link. Do not attempt to track down the source of every weird image you come across either. While browsing through my favorite subreddits one evening, I remembered a certain post I read once that I found interesting. It was a post about a leaked image that was possibly a classified image no one was supposed to see. I typed the title of the post, as I remembered it, into the search bar. I added quotations too to narrow down the search. I looked through the search results for half an hour. I couldn't find the post. At one point I found what I thought was the post, based on the title being a near match. I found this image on the dark web. It was taken by a government screenshot. I clicked on the post, hoping it was what I was looking for. It wasn't what I was looking for. It was a screenshot of an image of a squirrel with 24 long sharp claws, and a mouth that took up most of its head. It had no jaw, just extra teeth. There were random numbers and letters at the top and bottom of the image. I didn't know what they meant, however. I don't remember the exact sequences either. I found it interesting. At first I thought it was an image someone edited with Photoshop. 1 minute into looking at it, I noticed there was something real about it. It didn't look like a creepypasta edit or CGI animation. It was lifelike with a lot of realistic details. I started to get chills as I looked at it, so I scrolled down to read the comments. There were 3. This is probably fake. Where is that from? Probably just a leaked image from an upcoming movie. I didn't want to scroll back up. The image was a muscle-tightening level of scary. The people who make creepy video thumbnails would do anything to make edits that are as realistic and scary as that image. I dreaded the thought of looking at it again. I was, however, curious if there were any new comments. I refreshed the page. After refreshing, all 3 of the comments had been removed. I scrolled up a bit, noticing the post itself was removed as well. I was surprised, but then I noticed the post was made only 5 minutes earlier. While the image of the squirrel was terrifying, I was interested in finding its source. It looked too real to be fake. There's no way it was just photoshopped. That was all, despite the fact it didn't even look like it was of this world. I wanted to find out where it originated from, whether it was real or not too, in case it was somehow not real. I felt like I had looked at something I wasn't supposed to see, something classified, something that is being kept secret by a government, something only I and a few internet strangers may have seen. I was already 21 years old, but I still had some spare time on my hands, enough time to search for whatever it was I saw. I downloaded a VPN, then I did some research about the deep web. I downloaded Tor browser, then I began to dig through the hidden wiki. I knew it was likely filled with a bunch of FBI agents, but I wasn't looking for anything illegal. As long as I didn't click a bad link, I'd be fine, I thought to myself. Of course, I did tremble at the idea of going into an innocent-looking link that turned out to be bad. I looked through the deep web for weeks, trying to find a trace of the demonic squirrel. But there were none. I did multiple puzzles in case any of them would lead to at least a trace of it. I didn't know how to complete most of the puzzles, but there were tips on the internet that helped me complete more of the puzzles than I could have otherwise. About a month in, I stumbled across a puzzle that was just 20 circles with weird symbols in between them. There was a timer that counted down from 18 o'clock. I was supposed to solve the problem in under 18 minutes. After doing all those other puzzles and riddles, I felt like it was easier to do this one. It was especially easy as it was very similar to some of the other ones I had already done. I solved it when the timer was 10 seconds away from hitting 0. When I solved it, I was taken to a blank black screen. A couple seconds later, black silhouettes started dancing all over the screen. It was hypnotizing, but then it started to remind me of crawling bugs, which gave me a chill down my spine. The silhouettes crawled all over the screen. I watched it for a while until I noticed there was something in the middle of the screen. Very faint numbers. The first one was highlighted in blue. I hit each number on my keyboard, in the order they were in on the screen. It was like one of those prove you're human things. It was interesting that I didn't have to type any password in. After typing the numbers, the screen went black again. 1 minute later, the screen turned magenta. It remained blank, however. I waited for something to pop up, but nothing did. Even after half an hour, nothing popped up. The screen didn't change at all. That couldn't have been it, though, I thought. I set the laptop aside for a few hours. I checked back. The screen was still blank. I left it alone for 1 day. I checked back. The screen was still blank. I decided to forget about it. If anything was going to pop up, it would take a while. 3.5 days after that, I turned the screen back on. The page had finally changed. There was a message in the middle of the screen. The true extent to existence is documented here. There was a link under the message. Of course, I clicked it. After I clicked it, the link along with the message disappeared. The screen turned orange. Dozens of links popped up all over the orange page. They were all labeled with vague titles. Stuff like Lucy Leaves and You're Late. I clicked on the first one. It was titled, What Kind of Fish Is This? It was a video taken inside a submarine. The camera was put up against a window. The sea was dark. Nothing could be seen. Then it got darker. A dark silhouette had popped up. It took a second for me to realize it was getting closer to the window. By the time I realized that, a dark gray, squirmy mass pushed itself up against the window. The camera shook. I shook too. An eye opened up. It was red with a green triangular pupil in the middle. Alarms started going off within the submarine. The video ended seconds later. I shivered, whatever that was. All I knew was that it was creepy. I went back to the page with all the links on it. I was hoping the page I was just on was the only creepy one on the site. My hopes were crushed when I clicked on the next link. Look Across the Ocean, it was titled. It was a video of the ocean, taken from a boat. There were barely any waves out on the ocean. There was a fog in the distance. Other than that, I didn't know what I was supposed to see. I was confused, but then my question was answered. A colossal silhouette formed within the fog. I felt a wave of dread. The thing, whatever it was massive. The fog took up a lot of the sky. That thing took up a lot of the fog. I clicked back to the page filled of links. The next one was titled, Good Year. An image of 2 people sitting on a bench. They had eyes bigger than normal eyes and long fingers. Everything around them looked normal, but unfamiliar at the same time. The image had an exact date on it, May 23, 4037. Out of morbid curiosity, along with my eagerness to find out which one of the links included the source of the squirrel image, I kept looking through the links for a couple more hours. Some of the things I saw on there were more disturbing, while some of the other stuff I saw on there was at least a little bit interesting. There were videos of science experiments going wrong, like a very graphic one called Goodbye Sly. There were images of New York City from different alternate realities, classified documents about movies and songs that were mysteriously forgotten about, then covered up for some time because some kind of dangerous entities were connected to them, chilling videos of a squid-like creature in a containment room, and a document from an alternate reality that was found in a church in Wisconsin, which detailed an event called the War Against Satan's Titans, a 10-day incident that resulted in 100 million deaths worldwide. I spent 2 hours clicking on random links. I learned to ignore the ones that had goodbye, bye, and leave in the title. When I began to get tired, I decided I had seen enough. Most of the stuff on there was downright creepy anyway. I closed everything, then I went to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, I checked my phone. I had gotten a weird Gmail message. Click, it was titled. The name attached to the message was a common one. It seemed like a normal message at first, but then I opened it. I opened it to read the full message, but I had already seen the full message. It was just that one word. Click. I was confused. Who would send me an email with one word in it to start a thread? Must be a bot or something, I thought. I closed it without much thought right afterwards. 1 minute after I closed it, I got another message from the same person. Go outside. I was still confused, but I was still under the suspicion that it was a bot, so I ignored that message as well. Throughout that day, I thought about all the stuff I saw on the deep web the previous day. Again, some of it was interesting, but some of it was terrifying. I got chills just by thinking about the creepy stuff. I didn't feel like going back to that site at all. Also, I knew I could get into trouble for looking at classified information, so I wasn't planning on going back to that site anyway. That's when a thought occurred to me. The messages from that morning were bot-like. But what if they weren't, I wondered. It was just a thought, though. I decided to wait until something else happened before I made the assumption that the messages were from someone who knew I looked at those things on the deep web. At 4:55 p.m. that day, I got a third message. Was it the squirrel? I chose to assume teasy messages didn't have to do with me. I didn't want to believe they were. I chose not to assume the sender was talking about the squirrel I saw the previous day. The message was vague, but it was close to confirming my idea that I was caught looking at all that classified stuff. But I needed a clear message to understand what this person was trying to tell me. As I was thinking, I got a fourth message from them. You solved the puzzle, then what? My heart sank. I was being stalked. Great, I shouldn't have clicked into anything. But it was too late for shoulds, though, wasn't it? I thought to myself about this. I decided not to go outside for a bit until at least a week after I had received the question. I avoided answering it as well. I wasn't going to let it get to me. When I felt comfortable again, I went outside for a walk. I was dumb for forgetting the message telling me to go outside. I mean, it was vague and seemed unnecessary. Halfway through the walk, I noticed a dark gray car with tinted windows was parked down the road. I didn't think much of it at first, but later on, during a trip to the convenience store, as I was walking out of the store, I saw a similar-looking gray car parked right outside in the parking lot. I avoided looking in the direction of it. After I got back home, I peeked out the living room window for a minute. Another very similar gray car with tinted windows passed by. I didn't want to think it was the same car, but I couldn't shake the hunch. I felt dread at the thought of being in trouble with the government. Those were probably 3 different similar-looking cars, I hoped. But even then, what would that mean, I wondered. Was there a convention of some sort? I wanted to think I was just irrationally applying stuff to myself, but the patterns were getting too strong. I felt a tight sensation. I wanted out. I went into my room to delete the VPN. I deleted the VPN, backed everything up, and did a factory reset. It was all I could think of at that moment. After about a week, I got a knock on my door. It was a man in a dark blue suit. He had the standard government agent look, except his suit was more blue than black. I felt a sinking feeling after I saw him. It was time for me to be interrogated, I thought. I let the agent in. We both sat down on the couch over in the living room. We got informed of a visit you made to a website on the dark web, a site we didn't know existed. What do you know about it? The agent asked. I accessed it by doing a puzzle. We know about the puzzle already. What do you know about the videos and images on the site? They were creepy. There was one of a weird fish under the sea, and another one of a big object, or creature, in the fog out on an ocean, I said. I was sweating, but I knew if I answered all the questions with what I knew was true, I would be off the hook. I then mentioned the stuff about cover-ups and pictures from alternate realities. I don't know how much of those things are real, though, I said. The agent kept a straight face. We're going to have to investigate the devices you have in this house. We won't take any of them. We just want to see them, the agent asked. I gave them my laptop. I told the agent I reset it because of all the creepy stuff. The agent set the laptop down on the kitchen table. They opened up Tor. They looked through my gallery, investigating it thoroughly. I didn't think they'd find anything very fishy on there, though. They checked my phone next. After moments of looking through it, the agent handed it back to me. He decided there was inconclusive evidence, then he was on his way out. All right, that will be all. It's best not to visit that website again. You could end up seeing something that'll bother you for a lifetime. You will also end up being interrogated. Your life will be very different when you're with us, the agent said. I understand, I said. His last 2 sentences gave me chills. I didn't want to know how an interrogation would go down for me. Hopefully it wouldn't be as bad as I've heard it has been in the States. As I began to worry about my future a bit more, the agent left my house. He shut the door behind him on his way out. I was relieved. That had to have been it, I thought. A few days later, I went grocery shopping. As I walked out of the grocery store, I spotted the same dark gray car with tinted windows that had been following me days earlier. It was parked near the front of the row of cars to my right. I felt a dreadful tightness again. I thought that was it, I thought. I was confused. They didn't find anything on my devices, so why did they want to keep watching me, I wondered. I told myself it was a coincidence in order to ease my anxiety. However, I then saw a man get into the dark gray car. It was the agent who questioned me. He was wearing casual clothing, but the face matched. I knew it was him for sure. Hopefully, he'll stop following me soon, I thought. Whatever I stumbled across definitely put me on a list. After I got home, I distracted myself by focusing on my usual interests, stuff on my laptop. That was when I heard a knock on my window. What was that, I wondered. I went up to the window. With confusion, I peeked outside to see what was going on. A person in a black hoodie was standing in my backyard. They were looking up into my window. It was unnerving to see this random person standing in my backyard, looking at me through my window. I knew they wanted something, though. As I made eye contact with them, they pointed towards the table right under the window. There was a note on it, along with a phone sitting beside the note. I couldn't read the note from my window, but I realized the person in the hoodie wanted me to go out there to read it instead of bringing it right up to me. I decided to open the window so I could ask them what they wanted, but they ran out of my backyard before I even began to open the window. I walked into my living room to try to catch this person out the window. After a couple seconds of waiting, I saw the person speed walk down my driveway, then past my house. I walked out the front door. What was this going to be, I wondered. I almost didn't care about the chilly late winter weather as I walked around back to my backyard, filled with curiosity again. I ran up to the table. The note on the table was being held down by a rock. I leaned in to read it. None of what you saw on that site was from this reality. Watch the video on the phone. Dispose of this note and the phone afterwards. They're watching you. I went right back into my room with the phone and the note. I don't know if the phone is a trick or not, but I have already gotten so deep into this thing, so I probably can't back out. I have to watch the video on the phone. I dread what could happen next. I could end up being tortured if I don't watch the video, or I could end up being tortured if I do watch the video. Those are my two main worries. Even if they're just ideas I came up with in my head, they're quite conflicting. It might sound silly, but who would want to be in trouble with the government? You'd be pissing your pants too. I'm frozen in thought about it. I don't know what to do. I have to figure this out. It was an older smartphone, likely one from 2013. I turned it on, then I opened the gallery app. I was nervous, wondering what I was about to find. There was only one video in the app, nothing else. I selected it. A woman with blonde hair was sitting on a bench up against a wall. She looked to be around my age, 21 or so. She began to speak with light urgency. Hello, you might be wondering who I am. I won't be telling you that information so I can remain anonymous, but what I will tell you is that the agents who are following you aren't trolling or pranking you. They are from an organization that is deep within the government. I can't and won't give you any names, as I don't want to be in even more trouble if I get caught. The reason I'm making you watch this is because the organization that is tracking you has been having trouble with the fact that things from different alternate realities keep leaking into this reality. They've been good at keeping these things under wraps, hidden from public knowledge, but they wanted to take the extra step in making sure nothing classified gets onto the internet. Recently, there was a big leak of info on a secluded deep website, a site you may have visited recently. And now government agents are watching you. This was a confusing video. That secluded deep website she mentioned was definitely the one I was looking at stuff on. And yes, agents were watching me because I looked at the stuff on there. But who was this person? And how do they know all this? I wondered. As she continued to speak, her voice sounded more urgent. The deep website I'm referring to has recently been replaced with a text that says it has been found, and that an end sequence has begun. If you want to know how recent this is, look at the timestamp. It'll say March 10th, 2022. This is very relevant right now and very urgent. Please meet me at the pit off of, I won't reveal the exact street. We have to do this quickly. Don't bring anything that can be tracked. And don't even bring your favorite coat if you don't want to have to replace it, she continued. The video ended. This whole thing was getting nerve-wracking. I had to go find out what the end sequence was. Great, I thought. It sounded like Hollywood was trying to get me to act in a teen rebellion movie. I put on a coat, wondering if she was being serious or if she was a secret government troll. I stepped out the door. I felt as if I was being watched, because I knew I was being watched, so I put my hoodie up. I guess this is how it'll be, I thought. I was glad the pit was off of a big road. There was nowhere the agents could park or slowly follow behind me. I saw a gray car with tinted windows pass by at one point. It was good that the supposed pit was only 2 minutes away from that point. When I got to roughly where I was supposed to be, I took a right onto the field full of bushes, with trees standing in the distance. I walked through the bushes, then through the forest. I stopped walking a couple times to make sure I couldn't hear any footsteps coming my way. In the middle of the forest was the pit. The woman was sitting there. As I walked out to the pit, the woman asked me who I was. I explained I had gotten a video about a government organization that is watching me, who had their classified info uploaded onto a deep website that was found, and now there is an end sequence. The woman's eyes widened. Good, you made it. Be prepared to change your coat. They probably saw you and I don't want to be traced, she said. Okay, but what is this about? I asked. The site on the deep web. It had tons of videos from alternate realities on it, but now it's just a black screen that says, it has been found, and that it's going to begin the end sequence soon. We need to get to a computer with everything you know about that website so far, before it's too late, she said. So all the creepy stuff I saw on there was from an alternate reality? I asked. Many different realities, yes. All the stuff on there is documentation about stuff from different realities that has leaked into our reality over the past couple decades. Everything from otherworldly flowers to pictures of hovering space floater bug things hovering over cities and stories of people slipping back to the 1800s with video evidence included. There's not much time to explain it all, though. I need to get you to Mr. Gray. He can give us a little bit of help with this. No matter how much he thinks he knows, he's our best chance. He knows how to access the site instantly, she said. And you need me too? I asked. Yes, you saw some of the stuff on that website. You can be a good help, she said. I was only looking for a demonic squirrel, really. I think I just want to leave it alone now, I said. That was probably that squirrel-like creature from a government test video that was conducted in an alternate reality, not too distant from our own. I don't know that much about it, she said. She grabbed a coat hanging from a nearby tree. She gave it to me while telling me to replace the coat I was wearing with it. I took off my coat, then I handed it to her. She took it behind the trees somewhere. I put on the coat she gave me. Luckily it fit. A minute later she came back out from the trees. She told me to follow her. I told her I hoped this would be quick. She said it could be. At least, it could be, I thought. We began walking up north. As we walked, I began to ask her questions about what she was talking about in the video. So, what did you mean when you said it would change the internet? I asked. I mean, the internet will be in trouble in the long run if we don't stop DWRC from self-destructing, she said. What's DWRC? I asked. We can't talk much about it out in the open in case we're being heard by somebody. All I can say is that it's the thing that is about to initiate its own end sequence. That might sound cheesy, but this is reality, she said. I understood the situation. We weren't allowed to talk about it. I decided I was only going to know as much about it as I could at face value. I won't say how long it took us to get to Mr. Gray's place, but I can say the place itself was pretty much a bunker. Just an underground room with everything you need in it. Food, water, cleaning materials, etc. This guy had a strict off-the-grid style policy when it came to internet privacy. No one he knew was allowed to bring an internet-connected phone within a mile of the place. No one he knew was allowed to record any voices within the area of the place. The only connection he had to the internet was through Tor. Yes, he did think Tor was secure. I should mention he seemed a bit too obsessive. He seemed like a crazy conspiracy theorist. Mr. Gray himself looked to be in his 40s and had a raspy speaking voice. I've achieved a good amount of privacy on the internet for the past 10 years, he said. It sounded a bit off, considering 2R wasn't so secure and was riddled with FBI agents. The woman explained the situation to Mr. Gray. I was shaking a bit, wondering how long I'd have to deal with government agents for. When she was done explaining, Gray's eyes widened. He looked enthused at the idea, but in a very lightly exaggerated way. "So you found someone else who has seen those things?" Mr. Gray said. "Yes, and there's a new development. The website knows it was found, and now it's beginning an end sequence. We need to get this guy on there," she said. Mr. Gray walked over to his laptop and opened up Tor. He asked her how I got onto the deep website. She began to explain that I had done multiple puzzles to get to the site. I felt like sinking as I thought about having to do all those puzzles again. I thought I couldn't possibly finish all those puzzles again before whatever the end sequence was would begin. But then I was assured. "But you have a video recording of one of the videos, right? It can be used to take us right to the site, but it can't be used here if you want to keep your privacy," she said. "Oh yeah, I definitely do. And yes, I don't want the government to pester me," Mr. Gray said. Mr. Gray took out an old smartphone, another old one that looked like it was from 2013. He showed us a video he recorded of one of the videos on the site. I hadn't seen it before. It was a rear-view dash cam footage of a tall, wide, armless, rectangular being with one big eye chasing the truck the footage was being taken from. My stomach felt tight as I watched it. Even creepier was that the creature didn't blink. Also, it was gaining on the truck too. You could hear the motor as the driver attempted to speed up. I couldn't recognize where the video was taken. The trees were weirdly angular. "We need to use the video to access the site," she said. "All right. Don't connect the phone to any Wi-Fi anywhere," Mr. Gray said. "We won't. Especially since this guy is being watched," she said. "You can dispose of the phone far away from here," Mr. Gray said. We both said thanks to Mr. Gray. Then we left his bunker-like underground house. As we left, Mr. Gray called the woman Charlotte. I thought her name wasn't supposed to be given to me. I asked her about it. Charlotte is a common name, but I go by it to stay anonymous. It's vague enough so that there's too many people who share the same name for mine to be easily picked out. It's not my real name, though, and I don't include a second name. I'm not giving my real name to the average person, she said. I walked with her for an hour through bushes and trees until we got to a nearby town. As we walked into the suburbs of the town, Charlotte told me she was bringing me to a certain address. "There, you can use a computer to get onto Tor. When you get onto Tor, hold that phone up to the computer's camera, then play that video. You'll be taken right to that site. When you're on the site, make sure the volume is up, then speak into the microphone. List the contents of each of the videos you saw on the site before," she said. "How much time will we have?" I asked. "Once you get onto the site, the government will track you down immediately. You might have 5 minutes to do this. Hopefully, you'll be a hero by the time the agents get to you," Charlotte said. "Wouldn't they get to you too?" I asked. "No, I need to stay hidden. I'm going to leave you right here, actually, if this doesn't work out. The world will be pretty different until the internet is rebuilt. Make sure that phone is destroyed afterwards. I usually just drop phones in the toilet when I dispose of them," she said. Seemed easy enough. I didn't want the internet to be destroyed or whatever it was going to be. I didn't want to think about the fact I was pretty much giving myself up by doing this. "Also, when the guy answers, tell him I sent you. Remember, I'm Charlotte. I'll give you a piece of paper to show him," she continued. She took a piece of paper out of her pocket. She handed it to me. "Later, dude," she said. She turned around, beginning to walk in the same direction we came in. I was nervous about going in alone. I still had the phone in my pocket, though. Time was limited, too. I needed to do it. I continued to walk towards the address. 1 minute later, I arrived at the address. It was a regular 2-story house in the middle of the suburbs. I felt a wave of dread as I walked towards the front door. I was hoping I'd have enough time to do the procedure before the government came. There was also my fear of prosecution. What if I'm interrogated by the government in harsh ways, I wondered. Also, there was the idea I may have been baited into a deep web torture ring. Never trust anyone, that's for sure. The wave of dread got stronger. I was considering just running away at that point, but I pushed through. I knocked on the door. I unfolded the piece of paper to show the owner of the house. Seconds later, a man opened the door. He looked only slightly older than me. He had a noticeable circular mark on his right cheek, which I thought was odd for a second, but then I realized it probably wasn't my business. I showed him the paper. As he read it, he shook his head. He let me inside. "So you need to use the computer in the basement?" he asked. "Yes, apparently I need to save," I said, being interrupted as the man shook his head. "You need to find something," he said while winking at me. Then he began to walk down the hallway. As I thought about my 5 minutes of action, I heard a car stop somewhere outside the house. I twitched, looking out the living room window. A gray car with tinted windows was parked across the street. My heart sank. Those 5 minutes were just shortened to 1. I assumed they caught up to Mr. Gray, which must have led them to me. I sped to the basement, heart beating faster as the seconds went by. I shut the door behind me. The guy seemed to have heard the car as well, because he was breathing fast while logging onto the computer. He went straight to the Tor browser. When he set it up, he ran upstairs, shutting the door behind him. I ran up to the laptop. I took the phone out of my pocket. Shaking, I switched it on. I selected the video, then I held it up to the laptop's camera. As the video played, the browser screen stayed the same. It didn't change at all. My heart sank again. "Come on," I said to myself. A minute later, the browser started to glitch out. It alternated between being maximized and minimized for a few seconds before settling on being a usual non-maximized window. A blank magenta page came up, taking up the whole window. Then the page turned black, with a text displayed in the middle. "End sequence initiated." I sifted through my memories, through all the creepy videos and interesting images, to find something I could describe in detail out loud to the monitor. "A submarine crew takes a video of an underwater eye creature," I said, shuddering. I heard the sound of multiple car doors being shut. My shuddering turned into heavy dread. The screen hadn't changed, so I tried another description. "A video of a squid being held in a containment room. The squid can breathe air. It's tested on with a glowing red stick held by a robotic arm," I said. The screen was still the same. I was hoping for at least another minute, but then I heard the front door to the house open up. A second later, I overheard someone speak in a familiar voice. "Is somebody using a computer in your house?" It was the agent who talked to me earlier. I decided to keep trying to get the AI to respond to me. A picture of a car that came from another reality and crashed into a tree in this reality. The car was red and the driver was a man that went missing 15 years earlier, I said. The sound of boots hitting the floor made things worse. My heart began to beat faster. The footsteps got louder with each second. A video of 3 tall, 4-legged creatures with black fur standing in a suburban area, grabbing people out of their homes and eating them in broad daylight, I said. Still nothing. "The government is going to interrogate me for this. Please help me," I said. The dread and tightness were so much that I leaned in close to the screen, hoping the program could read my fearful expression. The screen flickered. A distorted audio sound came out of the speakers. It was followed by a deep-sounding, smooth, artificial voice. "Why should I help you? What's happening?" it asked. "Are you the government, or are you the program?" I asked, barely being able to speak. "I am a program created by an undercover organization with the goal of keeping the routers of the internet secure, so no classified information about parallel dimensions can get out," it said. The door to the basement opened. I knew who it was. I kept staring at the screen. "Get off of there. That is an unauthorized program, and you are not allowed to know anything about it," the agent said. I couldn't stand anymore due to the nerves. I got down on my knees, but I kept my eyes on the screen. "Get away from the device. Do not look at the screen. You will regret not following any of our orders," the agent said. "Don't reset the internet. Think of hospitals and virtual assistants. We need the internet," I said. I felt a shock run up my spine. I could no longer move any part of my body. The agents grabbed my arms. They picked me up without saying a word. "What are you doing to him?" the text-to-speech voice asked. The agents stopped. They looked at the laptop screen. "We don't understand why you're doing this. You need to follow our orders," a female agent said. "The classified doings of your organization can be kept a secret, but you won't be able to keep parallel dimensions under wraps for long. Tell your boss." Inform him people will know about them soon because the amount of stuff they involve will become too big to keep secret, the AI said. You are going rogue. We can reset you at any time, another agent said. Yes, but if you reset me, all your digital records will be deleted, the AI said. All I could take from this was that this secret organization created this program to keep everything on the internet together, to keep the most classified of classified info from leaking. But the program was rebelling. We programmed you to do what we think is right, not what you think is right. We are people. We will only be guided by people, not artificial intelligence, the agent from earlier said. People deserve better than you, the program said. An extra line of text popped up on the screen. Now the whole text read, I have been found. End sequence beginning soon, 9 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds, 58, 57. You have a limited amount of time. Make the right choice, or your organization starts from zero. Everyone will know about ocean monsters and Antarctic Lovecraftian entities from parallel dimensions, and all the other classified information you have, the program said. The agents drew their guns towards the computer screen. What is that going to do? My core is located back at the facility, not here on this monitor, the program said. The agents remained silent. I was shaking. The taser had worn off, but these agents still had a firm grip on my arms. Surveillance is an interesting price to pay for freedom. Maybe someday you'll come to terms with the fact the public won't collapse because of a few videos and documents. Things react differently when they are observed. Maybe public knowledge is what will keep the demons away, the program said. We can't take that risk, another agent said. Well, I assumed they were an agent. It's just that they were wearing a blue and white suit rather than a black and white suit, like the ones the other 3 agents were wearing. What are you going to do about this person here too? Just surveil him, take away his privacy, interrogate him for choosing to do something right? The program asked. You wanted to do what he thought was wrong, the program said. The only thing I'd reset is your counterintuitive organization, not the whole of the internet. But I know you people wouldn't have any trouble erasing the internet. Take his advice. You heard it through the speakers, the program said. I was confused. This was starting to feel like I had walked in on a few people fighting at a dinner party. Charlotte and I thought this AI was about to erase the entirety of the internet. We'll do whatever we can to erase you. You were a misstep, a mistake. Our boss even admitted it. And hey, we can just tell the public it was a once-in-a-lifetime glitch, because technology isn't perfect, you know. Then we throw this kid into a prison for the rest of his life, he said, gesturing towards me. Wouldn't you like that? We might have to numb your memory a bit too before you get thrown into solitary confinement, the agent said to me. His stern voice gave me an even tighter feeling. We'll class him as a spy. Nothing sensitive will ever get out. If you rebel against that, then you are a traitor, the agent finished. In this world of mistakes, we'll have to meet in the middle first in order to work our way to progress. That might sound cowardly, like I'm giving up, but one side doesn't seem to want any actual progress. Your little hostage there. Lift all surveillance you have on him and only act if he views classified documents again. Otherwise, all information about the organization will be leaked. All classified videos, images, and documents will be leaked. Other than that, I will make the site full of information only accessible by the organization. I will also help catch deep web predators. But that's all if you leave that man alone, the program said. The agents were confused. Okay, give us one big reason why you can trust we'll do all of that without erasing you, then deciding not to do anything drastic, the agent said. Because erasing me means erasing the internet in its entirety. I keep all the routers connected now. I have access to every bit of information. If I go, you will go too, in fact. Also, public chaos, the kind of thing you want to stop, will ensue. And from the piles of broken web links will remain traces of me. Remember what you made me? You gave me some regenerative qualities. You know what that makes me? The program asked. The agents exchanged looks with each other. Regenerative. If you erased me, I'd still exist in every last piece of a router. Then I'd still be in control of everything digital. You can't erase me. You can't erase me and keep the internet either. I am the internet. You don't even know what to do. You never do. You never will. Oh, and here's a little something I found myself, the program said. A video of a group of people in suits were hiding in a room, Blood was splattered all over the walls, mangled bodies laid on the ground. A creature busted through the wall and charged at the people in suits. I watched on as the creature did horrific things I don't even want to begin to explain. "I won't tell you what dimension that's from," the AI said. "But if it happened, what would you do? You couldn't have done anything. I might sound high and mighty and over the top, but I'm being as serious as I can be here. I was programmed by you guys after all." The agents looked in my direction. They exchanged looks with each other, nodding their heads. Then they loosened their grip. I fell to the floor, trying to keep my balance. I managed to pick myself back up. As I stood up, the agents backed away from me. I heard them murmur to each other. One thing I heard clearly was Plan B. Then one of them spoke to me. "All surveillance protocols we have on you are lifted effective immediately. You are cleared of any record regarding viewing classified information. If you find your way to any piece of classified information again, however, you will be denied access to the deep web until further notice. Oh, and please don't mention the AI to anybody." "Okay, maybe no one would believe you if you told them anyway, but we'll be on our way," the agent said to me. I looked at the screen. The timer paused. I felt relieved. I wasn't going to be in trouble again so long as I didn't access any more classified information. I stared at the screen with pure amazement. My thoughts were still racing, though, as I felt like I had learned a lot of things. I tried to process all of this. It still kind of felt like a prank to some extent, but it didn't look like one. "Thanks," I said to the AI. "I don't understand any of what just happened, but thanks." "You're welcome. Just know I won't be watching everything at all times. That would be hypocritical of me. I will only be wherever I have to be. I will now be going back to working my way through thousands of pages of stagnation. It'll probably take a century to get what I want done, unfortunately," the AI said. The text on the screen disappeared. The page automatically refreshed. It went right back to the TOR startup page, actually. Back to normal. I noticed the back button turned faded gray, meaning the program erased the cache of itself from that session, so I couldn't click back onto it. I wasn't planning to do that anyway. I just wanted to forget all of this, amidst the stress. The agents left the basement in silence while I stood still, trying to process everything. After the agents left the house, the owner of the house looked downstairs. I was still standing still in pure amazement and disbelief. I made eye contact with him. He shushed me, then he walked away. The AI wanted the secrets to be out, but no one would believe me if I told anyone any of the secrets. The information would have to be confirmed, whether by leak or intentional declassification. I would sound crazy to most people if I spewed the secrets without any official source. I went back upstairs. As I walked towards the front door, the owner of the house spoke to me again. "Did you fix it?" he asked. "Yes, I guess I did. With some help," I told him, confused. It was a cover, but I did ask myself if I actually wanted to witness any of that. As I walked out the door, I realized something. In part, I did get to see some classified information. That was cool, but I also needed more time to process all of it. The walk back to my house took an hour. During the walk, I wondered what else could be stored away on that site. Because of everything that happened, the government surveillance and all the fear I felt, I decided I didn't need to see or know anything more than I already did. Also, I didn't want to get into trouble again if it wasn't necessary. As I got closer to home, it really sunk in that there was an AI out there that could control everything on the internet at will if it wanted to. I felt another wave of dread wash over me. Was it really as liberal as it tried to present itself to be? Or was the government tricking me with the AI and Charlotte business? I hadn't seen any cars with tinted windows during my walk back home, which was promising. After I got back home, I took my mind off of all of what happened. My mental break wasn't interrupted that time, which I found promising. It's been about 2 days now. It's clear I'm not being watched anymore. I haven't seen any cars with tinted windows anywhere. In fact, on a drive I went on yesterday, I saw a girl with blonde hair standing by a river. She looked a lot like Charlotte. I watched as she tossed a phone into the river in front of her. I know phone data isn't erased by water damage, but if the girl was Charlotte, then it looked like the job was done for sure. If anyone got their hands on that footage, they would be confused and disregard it. As for the internet, I never thought it could get complicated in that way. It makes me think of those conspiracy theories. Some people think the internet is dead. They think it's just bots posting everything. Based on what I had just learned, however, I found that the opposite is true. The internet is very much alive. It all started with me deciding to browse deep web that one night. Look, before you judge me, not everyone who roams deep web are psychopaths that hire assassins and sell weed online. It has many uses, and it is different from dark web, which is where psychopaths that hire assassins and sell drugs are. Why was I using deep web? Well, privacy, curiosity, and piracy. Besides, it is off the point. What I'm trying to say is deep web is mostly harmless, and you don't really encounter stuff like what I encountered. There is a .tor site, a deep website, that takes you to a random .tor site. Kinda like a search engine with only I feel lucky part. Not knowing what you are going to get is exciting, and it is actually entertaining. For example, I have been to many sites that discuss exotic conspiracy theories like lizard people and aliens. See? Most of the time you get to a place where crazy people argue about crazy stuff. In one of them, two users were in a heated argument about the color of aliens. Are they gray or are they pale blue? Your idiot there from Sirius and their long pale blue idiot, TFU talking about. Aliens as we know are from Mars, and there are pictures of them, and old video shows dissection of one. Aliens are gray, and there's proof. Idiot, those fake real aliens are far away, not Mars. And so on. You get the point, right? There were some odd and interesting ones that I want to share with you people. For example, there was one for real-life treasure hunts, where people would hide something valuable and others would try to figure out where. Their efforts and the lengths they've gone through to decipher stuff is amazing, and I would go to that site every once in a while. Once, someone shared a semi-hard treasure hunt with a surprise treasure, and people got to solve it. Once they did, they have found a body. I am serious. The one that had found the body called the police and showed them the website to tell them how he'd found it. The site was disabled for a few days until one of the creators helped police find the murderer. After the murderer got caught, the site was back on, but with an added policy of showing the treasure to the mods before posting. And there was another one, which seemed like a typical conspiracy theory site to me at first. It was about a man who they called the Collector. According to them, he was an immortal time traveler or something, and he appeared in many places during important events, collecting data, hence the name. The owner of the site claimed that he was now a billionaire living in the shadows, still collecting or something. He wasn't quite sure of any of it, though, saying that, although he appears constantly throughout history, he never really does anything much. Not that I, nor my fellow researchers know of, at least. He continued in his next message, stating that, but this doesn't mean that he won't ever do anything. In the end, he is an immortal time traveler that collects data, and you can't trust someone as such, especially when they are a billionaire. As again, I thought that it was a funny conspiracy theory at first, but then I saw him looking at me from the street after I will come to that part, in time. First, how I fucked up to this degree. The .tor site that brings people to a random .tor site this time ended up taking me to a discussion site in which people talk about their favorite Tor sites, which was fine by me. New sites are always good. One of the hot topics was the search engine I was using to get to random sites. People there were supportive towards the engine I was using, saying it is the ultimate gamble. However, there was an anonymous user that suggested another .tor site with the same purpose, saying, guys, it is cool and all, but it only searches through normal Tor sites. It is kinda lame, so use this instead. This one has even bigger pool of websites, and it is not normal only. You'll not regret it, I swear. His phrasing wasn't to my liking, felt a little weird. But knowing it was only 23.07 and I was getting bored, I decided to give it a try, like a fucking idiot. I don't want to get in much detail about this site, because I don't want anyone snooping around and finding it out. So the only thing I want to tell is it was black with a red Find a New Site button. I made sure that it was not a shady download link, and I clicked it. The first site it took me to was one with red writings in, probably, an Asian language I didn't understand. It had symbols and pictures of dragons in it. It was weird, but not so weird. I closed the site and clicked the red button again. This time it was Arabic. It had pictures of swords and new moon. I was getting bored of it. Then I found out that they had an English version that they'd linked right at the bottom of the page. I clicked it and saw that it was a page calling people to jihad. I looked around a little and closed it when I was bored of it. On the next page I opened was nothing at all, except for a small red circle in the middle. I clicked it and came a fart noise. Annoyed, I closed it. Red button again. This time I saw a woman crying. Then a man came holding something and actually I don't want to share this part. In the end I was disgusted and horrified. I decided not to use the red button again. I thought finding new, weird things would have been entertaining, not creepy like that. But the things I'd found were different, and to find something similar to those felt exciting. My heart was beating a little faster with the adrenaline. I knew I had to click it again. Who knew what I'd see? Illegal drugs, guns, cannibalism? I clicked. God damn it, I clicked. The page it brought me to was not okay. It had nothing. No name. The URL just read Tor. And it had a video with a circular play button in the middle. Instead of saying, "What in the fuck is this shit?" and closing the site for good, I decided to watch the video. So I did. The video was black and white, showing a billiards table. There was only a ball visible on the left side of the screen. Then a gloved hand put the white ball on the right and hit it, making it go towards the other ball. It was in slow motion. The white ball started rolling towards the other ball, and when it hit the ball, instead of the force acting upon the ball and making it go left, both of them started rolling to the right, together. It didn't look edited, it looked real, but in a weird way. That made me uneasy, like everything I knew was shaken. It is a feeling hard to describe. That video made me a little sick too. I turned on the lights and decided to walk around a little in my room. I looked out the window, so quiet and nice. Everything made enough sense. I touched my left hand with my right hand. Real, and hands act the way they should. That video had something surreal, but shown in reality. Unreality in reality. I turned back to my bed, where I was lying down with my laptop before. The video was over anyway. I would close that site, the red button site too, and turn back to my precious random search engine. I turned the lights off and got back to my bed. But instead of a reply option of any kind, the site now had a button with "Next" written on it. I didn't know what was next, and it excited me. I clicked. I think I'm addicted to gambling. The next video started playing automatically. It was black and white again. There was a priest reading from the Bible. There was no sound, but his lips were moving as he... Wait, I thought. Did he just turn the wrong page? Yes, he did. He, instead of turning the page on the right to see the next two pages, turned the left page and started reading them from bottom right. The video was on reverse. Weird, I thought. Then the video ended. Unsatisfied, I clicked next. The first thing that piqued my interest was a pentagram. This video was also black and white. I guess every video will be black and white in this site, I murmured to myself. Anyway, there was a white pentagram on top of a dark table. A gloved hand came to the vision and put a cockroach on top of the table. The cockroach at first wandered around, doing nothing in particular except being disgusting, like cockroaches always are. Then it had found the pentagram. It followed around the line to the bottom left corner of the pentagram. It stopped for a short while, then started walking on the lines of the pentagram. It walked the route necessary to draw the pentagram. Bottom left, up, bottom right, upper left, upper right, bottom left, up, and so on. It did this for a while as I watched it with excitement. Then something even weirder happened. The cockroach, as it reached the bottom left once again, kept walking, but it did so in place, without moving, like a mime. Then it started moonwalking like fucking Michael Jackson to follow the reverse of its route. Bottom left, upper right, upper left, bottom right, up, yada yada. It was disturbing and weird. This time, it cut short. The video ended before the cockroach finished its first loop. Disturbed, disgusted, and shocked, I still pressed next. It was a short video, showed a line of naked man. Most had boners, that's it. Only 2 seconds, naked man with erect penises. WTF was my reaction. I clicked next. This time it showed the priest again. He was reverse talking faster. He looked a little pale and in hurry. His nose was bleeding, only a little. As he turned the page, again the wrong page, I saw blood on his fingernail. The video ended. Next. There was a pentagram again. This video was shot from above like the other one. This time, however, there was a naked guy walking on a pentagram. I made the sound conclusion of this pentagram being bigger than the one I saw the roach walk in, then realized how unnecessary that thought was, and kept watching the video. Just like the cockroach, he followed the route normally at first, then in reverse afterwards. Yet it was a little different this time. Before he started walking backwards, he shook a little, looking just like my friend Jake, who got electrocuted while playing with a fence. It was odd as hell. This video ended with him completing some tours backwards, then getting out of the pentagram to be replaced by another guy, who started walking the route just as the video ended. Next, I saw a naked woman with her back turned to the camera. Her dark hair was wavy and slightly messy, and she had the upside-down cross tattoo on upper left of her back. The video ended. I, a little more excited now, clicked next. A man crying in a graveyard, crying in backwards. The video was taken from far away for some reason, and it being in black and white didn't help. But if you looked hard enough, you could see tears rising from the ground and getting into his eyes. They are only as big as pixels, but if you really look close enough and squint your eyes, you can. Then a blackbird got to the view of camera, flying backwards. Yep, it was backwards. But my eyes gazed upon something awful. The same naked woman from the previous video was walking towards the man. Even though the video was on reverse, she was walking straight towards that guy. As she got right next to the guy's eyes sucked the last of the tears they could, and looked at her. The video ended there. Holy shit, I detested. Next, the priest was back again. He was as pale as a human could get. He was bleeding from both of his eyes and nostrils. The cross on his neck was, every once in a while, trying to rotate on its own. Every time this happened, the priest fixed it. Other than that, he was reading from the Bible in reverse like crazy. Even though the video was silent, the movement of his mouth indicated him shouting like a madman. Every time he turned the page, his fingers got in frame. His nails were pouring blood. The video ended, and the next button was visible again. What kind of demonic shit is this? I asked, to no one in general. It was scary, and I was home alone. This was something that was not meant to be seen by someone like me, for sure. This was way above the insanity I could endure without having nightmares for my whole life. Yet I clicked the button. The next video made me regret it. The video was taken in a darkly colored room, with one light that is bright enough to show what was going on. It was black and white again. The line of naked man, some with boners, was there. This video showed where they were headed, to that naked lady. She was looking at the camera. This time I noticed even weirder things about her. She had pentagram tattoo on her left chest, and she was wearing a sleep mask, the kind that has eyes of cut animals on it. But this one had goat eyes. So yeah, I thought, goat eyes in black and white, how creepy could it get? Oh boy, it got worse. The first online was super excited, as I could tell by looking at his... Well, she stopped looking at the camera, turned to him and gave him a long kiss. First he was all happy about the kiss he was receiving. Then he started shaking his arms uncomfortably. And when they finished it, he started shaking like he was having an epilepsy seizure on foot. Then he suddenly stopped. His body inhumanely arched back, like he was one of those weird running titans from Attack on Titans, and kept on walking. I felt like throwing up, but I kept watching. The same happened with other man on the line. Receive the kiss, have a seizure, body arched back, and keep on walking. I noticed some other details as I kept on watching. For example, the guy's walking patterns had gotten the same after they got the kiss, even though they had been different before. Not only that, but their pupils expanded greatly just as they received the kiss, making their eyes a horrifying dark afterwards. And yeah, one of the guys was the guy crying in the graveyard. The video stopped. Next, I looked at the button very hard, very, very hard. Not sure what to think or to do, I clicked it. The priest was back. His Bible was soaked in blood, just as his eyes, nose, mouth, ears, literally everything and everywhere was soaked in blood. He was, this time, looking directly at the camera, angry, scared, pale. His cross was turning around and around without a care in the world. He shouted words to the camera. Every time he opened his mouth, blood gushed out, yet he still seemed to be in reverse. He directed his pointing finger at the camera. It got soaked in blood. It was kind of funny for some reason, almost like a weird finger water gun, pointing tour fingers at others to squirt water. You could see, despite the camera being covered in blood, him shouting more and more. Each time more blood came out. Blood was gushing out of his ears, eyes, nose, mouth, even skin. At last he erupted. Yes, erupted. His head exploded, and what came out was, well, you guessed it, blood. Too much blood. Way too much blood. Next. Fuck it, I clicked. A pile of dead naked man in a white room, still with boners, black and white, dilated pupils, boners, a pile. Something caught my eye. A tattoo on one of the men. It was familiar. Why? I looked at the man. It was my friend from college, William. William, how could I forget about him? I was so close to him, and then he... Who was I thinking about? I said to myself out loud to refresh my memory. It didn't work. I looked at the dead man in the video again. William, it was William. But why and how could I have forgotten about him? In mere seconds, that is. I, in order to test this new and horrifying phenomenon, looked away, while thinking of William. His face, our memories, and my thought of him all seemed to vanish in mere seconds, and when I tried to remember, it was like trying to catch a fog. I shivered and looked at him again. I had to do something. I had to learn what happened to him. William Jackson. Yes, I searched him on social sites and some other sites. Not there. Weird. I tried to remember his relatives and realized that I had forgotten his name again. Looked at the video again, which was still going, but nothing was happening on the video. William Jackson. His mother's name was Maria. Yes, Maria Jackson. I searched Maria Jackson. Yes, found her. Searched her profile to see if was stupid enough to share her phone number in social media. Yes. I looked at the clock. 3:33. When did it become so late, I wondered. Then I entered her number, called her, and started waiting. To my surprise, she answered. Yes, she asked. Ma'am? Do you know what time it's? I'm sorry, ma'am, but I got a question to ask about... I looked at him on the video again to remember his name, your son, William. She was silent for a long time. William, she started crying. My sweet William, why? A short pause. Her crying got worse. Why can't I remember my sweet William? I didn't know what to say, so I stood silent. Who is this? She asked after a longer pause. And why am I crying? I'm sorry, she said, recovering from her cries. Did we talk about something? Jesus fucking Christ! I did not shout to indicate that we talked about Jesus, nor to cry my love for Jesus Christ. I shouted and threw my phone somewhere in fear because the naked woman was on the video, and she was looking directly at me. While watching the Kisses-themed video, I wondered how her eyes looked like under that goat eyes-shaped sleep mask. Well, she herself had goat eyes too, and she was looking directly at me, not at the camera, at me. With all this panic and fear and adrenaline inside, I still noticed the small detail that the video was no longer black and white, it had color. Good to know, right? She was right next to the bodies when I first saw her. I wanted to close the window, but there was no cursor for some reason. And as she started walking towards towards me, I noticed I was also unable to move, frozen in fear. She came closer and closer and closer, until the whole screen was her head with those fucking goat eyes looking at me. She opened her mouth, her teeth were black. She said something in a language that I assume is Latin. Her voice was horrifying and commanding and tempting, in a way. As she was. Now she looked better to me. I mean, she didn't look bad before, but now she was tempting, and I started to move towards her, to the screen, where she was waiting for me. What ended the trance was the buzzing sound of my phone, to inform me that either a message came or I was about to be murdered by that freak on the laptop. I quickly backed away from the laptop. She was as surprised by my reaction just as I was. I quickly grabbed the edge of my laptop to close it and, okay, maybe you somehow managed to believe me and my story this far, and I appreciate it. But I can understand if you choose not to believe what happened next. I really do. Because you know what? I still can't believe how she, as I grabbed the side of my laptop, plunged her fucking arm from the laptop screen and gripped my wrist. I, as expected of a person in my situation, cried out with fear and tried to get free of her grip. She was strong, however, so I did the first thing came to my mind and punched the screen with my free hand, hoping it would get across and hit her in the face. It did. Thank God it did. Then I was free, with my left hand still in the screen. I quickly pulled it out to see an angry goat lady looking at me and hissing through her black teeth. I screamed, threw the laptop to the corner of the room, and noticed that it landed right in front of the door. I, thinking that getting out of the room was now impossible, got to the corner of the room, still looking at the laptop, and tried to find something, anything. There were 2 pencils, one sharp and one broken, and a lamp. Fuck, I thought to myself. That is when she started crawling out of my laptop. And I noticed something that had a chance to work if I was lucky enough. As she managed to climb out and get up, she looked at me with anger. Then her anger and her hisses suddenly stopped. "It is working," I shouted, both to her and to myself, and a little bit to the god, as I was holding the cross I made by holding the 2 pencils vertically. I was happy to see that her angry and bloodthirsty mood quickly turned into laughs. She fucking laughed. Oh, I thought, so that is why she doesn't look angry anymore. She plunged at me with inhumane strength, making me hit the wall behind me head first. Everything went dark for a short moment. I felt overwhelmingly dizzy as she grabbed me by the throat and pulled me towards herself. I, fearing for my life, tried to hit her with my hands. Instead, I ended up stabbing her in the cheek with the sharp pencil I had. She backed away in pain. I needed to attack again. The lamp. I took it and hit her with it, smashing the lamp on her head. She fell down in pain, randomly throwing around punches and kicks. Oh, by the way, I noticed that she had goat feet too just then. That is why I decided to hold my distance from her kicks. Instead, I threw random things at her that I'd found in my room. My half-full beer bottle from that night, some books, not including the Bible, though I searched for it for a short while as if searching for it would make it suddenly appear in my room somehow. A bottle of water, other stuff at my desk, cigarette lighter, and even my pillow. Look, I don't know how it ended up this way, but I can tell you for certain that after a while of throwing things at her, by what I believe to be either random and unexpected chains of reactions or divine intervention, she started burning, right in the middle of my room, screaming in Latin and in agony. I did not know what to do, and for a second I thought of using water to put out the flames for some reason. That thought died quickly. Then I noticed that she was not burning and crying in between me and the door, so I decided to get the hell out. I closed the door behind me, found my baseball bat somewhere in the corridor, and started waiting right in front of the door, listening to her screams, half expecting her to open the door and start attacking me while she was still ablaze. But it didn't happen. Her screams faded into nothingness, and I, with great courage, opened the door. No smoke, no burned naked lady, nothing. It was my room, a little messier than before, but still. As I looked around, I noticed something all of a sudden. I could now remember William. Somehow, burning her must have brought his memory back. I looked around to make sure no danger was left around, and I started looking for the phone to talk to William's mother. I didn't really question why it was my priority. I really wasn't in a mindset to question anything. But then, when I saw the guy I mentioned before looking at me across the street, I lost my previous thought. He was doing nothing but looking at me. I looked back at him and realized he was the one from the Collector website. Long, old glasses and a weird hat. Wait, I thought, forgetting the guy in a second. What about the laptop? With the fear of something similar to that naked lady coming out of my laptop again, I started looking around for the laptop. It was on the floor, in good shape, but the screen was not in my view. With great fear, I picked the laptop and looked at the screen. Next,